Well, thank you for joining us. I don't know what the last time was that you called or wrote to one of the politicians that you know or in this area, in the Bay Area, but there's some reason to do it, and you're going to find out a little bit more about that from our guest, Joel Blackwell, who has a book called Keep on Voting After the Election. I love this part, Joel. How ordinary people, here we are, get what they want from the government, the grassroots guy. People don't know how to do that?
For the most part, not only do they not know how to do it, but they don't believe it will work. There's a huge reservoir of cynicism among Americans about their government, and what they don't realize is that so few people communicate with politicians. The ones who do have enormous power.
Okay.
And you can be one of those. That's my point.
All right. When we see what's going on now with the election, no wonder people don't want to talk to them. It's intimidating.
It is,
Yeah.
and that's what the mistake people make is they think elections are politics. But in fact, today, and that's the title is Keep on Voting After the Election or Before the Election, what that means is you can pick up the phone, call your elected representative, give voice to your concerns, and have more power than your vote. And you can do that today, tomorrow, and you can keep on voting.
Okay, you know, I do know people who do that. And sometimes they get the brush off, but sometimes they're heard. So at least you do have some, you know, some strength as an individual citizen to reach out to politicians. Now, you talk to groups, you consult groups, you mentioned some other groups you were talking to recently, and you try to motivate them to get what they want from the government. Is that right?
Yes, well, it's interesting. Even some of the most powerful special interest groups, and I have worked with community action agencies who were trying to motivate poor people, bankers, doctors, even those powerful groups like bankers and doctors have a heck of a time motivating bankers and doctors to communicate to politicians. So it's a problem that transcends your place in society. Everybody is affected. So my job is to get in and explain to people how much power they can have, how they can do it, and encourage them more than anything else.
Yeah, well, a big group like ARP, for example,
Sure.
they've taken on political clout. So they do that as a group as opposed to individuals. But it did start, I would imagine, with just a few people.
Well, it did. One woman started AARP, and that's a very good case in point because it illustrates some of the essential elements that people don't think about. AARP, for example, doesn't use money like bankers and realtors and people like that. Their power lies in the strength of their numbers and the fact that their people have time and they care a lot. They care about Medicare, they care about Social Security and some other issues. So there's a lot of passion involved, and passion is worth a lot.
Yeah, and that kind of motivation to do it.
Absolutely.
You must have talked to a lot of politicians, and being from Washington, D.C. and living there. What is their reaction? When you talk to them, what do you say about what you do and how you get people to try and call them?
Well, it's very interesting. I came to this as a journalist and with the typical journalist cynicism. So when I was out working around the country, and I've worked in 47 states, I would sit down with, say, senators in Nebraska, and I once had a table of 4 senators at a reception.
Frightening thought. Joe.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And so what I asked them is I say, how do you want to be influenced? What works? And they're very consistent. They want to hear from their constituents, and they want something that makes sense and is specific.
And they want something to keep them in office.
Well, that's the secondary part, but absolutely.
That's the underlying part. Is that
Sure,
right?
and the way that works is if you can vote for me, I'm going to do everything I can to keep you happy. So you'll tell all your friends. And the last thing I want is you going back home and saying I blew you off.
Yeah.
And so that's the start of the process when a politician is talking to the person who can vote for them.
Okay, let's remind everybody, Joel Blackwell's book is called Keep on Voting After the election that goes on forever right now, how ordinary people can get what they want from the government. Nice meeting you, Joel. Thanks for coming
Thanks a
in.
lot.
You bet.